When I was watching 90 Day Diaries, I found something so strange. And I said to myself, surely this is just for the camera, right? So here's the thing. We know that when it comes to Emily and Kobe, these are two people that met in China. And, well, Emily was meant to be nothing but a one-night stand for Kobe. And I guess maybe even for herself. But of course, what happened was that one-night stand turned into, I guess, seeing each other more and more. So much to the point that she ended up getting pregnant while she was in China, sleeping with a random man that really and truly at that time hadn't really, built an actual relation with. So therefore, she didn't really know who he was. And nor did he know who she was. But of course, because she got pregnant, what happened? Kobe then decided to propose to her, even though they barely knew each other. Fast forward a few years later on, he finally makes it to America, moves from Cameroon to America, and finally sees their firstborn for the very first time. But unfortunately, he was unable to be there for the birth, nor was he really be there for the first year, I believe, of their firstborn. So then, of course, this is when they debuted themselves on 90 Day Fiance. Now, when they debuted themselves on 90 Day Fiance, it was very clear that Emily was the controlling type. So much to the point that she was getting underneath the viewers' skins because of the way she was behaving. She wasn't allowing Kobe to have a voice. And also on top of that, she wasn't really allowing or respecting his culture or some of the things that obviously he wanted or expected from a woman based on where he's from. So there was also the point where people was upset with her for not willing to understand who Kobe is, who Kobe was, where he came from, and what kind of man that he wanted to be. And then also on top of that, people also had the whole reference with Get Out, because when it came to her family, her father and her mother, people wasn't really too sure how to deal with their attitude, because the way they treated Kobe at first was very off key, which is why people were given the whole Get Out kind of reference. But fast forward though, Kobe and Emily then come back for another season of 90 Day Fiance, and this time it's crazy because they came back for Happily Ever After, but this time Emily had kind of changed her tone a little bit. She was now starting to look a little bit better in the public eye. But prior to that, Emily had also won over some people via to her appearances on Pillow Talk, and people saw a different side of her personality, which was absolutely fantastic. But of course, when we saw them come back for Happily Ever After, even though Emily started showing better traits of herself in that show, she was still showing signs of her not necessarily willing to understand Kobe's culture and where he's from and who he really is. And then also on top of that, these are the things that made Kobe become rather irritated, and especially when they were in Cameroon and he wasn't exactly happy with the way Emily would behave in certain ways, so much to the point that Kobe's friends also found it hard to approve of Emily because they saw her as a typical American woman who was entitled, rather than somebody that was coming to Cameroon to really understand how they live and who they are, etc., etc. So then we fast forward, we know they had their first child, and then they went on to have their second child. Then they went on to have their third child. And now Emily is currently pregnant, expecting their fourth child. Now you would think within the process of them having their first, second, third child, when it comes to parenting, you would think that they would have a better idea of how they can parent together. Of course, each time you have a new child, your parenting skills will adapt, they will change, you will learn new things because not every child is the same, which is completely fine. But the way parents work together, that's something that's very, very important and very, very key. So now we're going to get into exactly what happened on this week's episode of 90 Day Diaries, because I sat there and I said to myself, are you telling me that 3 kids on, you two didn't have this part figured out? And this isn't good.
Parenting is one of the most challenging things that we have in our relationship. Sometimes somebody let the kids just run around with no rules and then they just disrespect us.
Now, I want us to pay attention to the words that Kobe used here. He said that sometimes Emily allows the kids to run around the house with no rules and they don't respect us. He didn't say they didn't respect him, he said us. So he's acknowledging that because Emily is allowing the kids to behave the way they behave, it is putting them in a position where he doesn't feel like the kids are respecting himself as well as his wife. So that means he is obviously speaking for the both of them, which respectfully is the right thing to do. So let's get into what happens next.
Get up.
Are you done eating? You can leave the table if you're done. We have very different parenting styles. I'm definitely more of like a lax mom. I'm all about kids finding themselves and being.
Listen, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with having different styles, but you got to communicate it. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you are the more relaxed parent, but you got to communicate about it. But did you see what happened there? You see, the first thing that happened here is that, of course, we see their oldest being on the table and standing up. And Kobe obviously said, hey, get down. We saw the face of the child. The child knew that daddy is speaking. And respectfully, this is exactly how a child should be reacting when daddy is speaking. Or to be fair, how when any parent obviously tells them what you're doing is wrong. A child should be looking like that, in my humble opinion, okay? But of course, what does Emily do in this situation? She undermines him and then pretty much says to the kid, but are you done? Because if you're done, then it's all good. Hold on a minute. Why are you undermining your husband? If you've got an issue with how your husband has dealt with things, that is fine. But what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to then take that conversation and have it in private, not to undermine your partner, the father of your kids, in front of the kids. Because what happens in this situation is that the father starts to lose respect from his own kids, but his kids will always know that no matter what daddy says, mom is always going to be there to protect us. And this is something that Emily needs to understand. But as we already know, based on everything that I already told you guys, Emily has a backstory of the fact that she's always the one that's way too outspoken and does it in ways that can definitely upset the room.
Hiding themselves and being abused a little bit too hard on the kids.
They're playing games, no problem. They run around in restaurants.
Where did they run around?
Because you always tell them to do that. They run around, no one asks.
Never.
Now let's be real. He says that when they're out and about, obviously in a restaurant, these kids run around because Emily allows them to do it. Emily's sister and pretty much denies it. Listen, for me personally, I'm going to go off the women say that what Kobe's saying is probably 1000% factual. Because if you are at the dinner table here and you are undermining him because he's seeing that the kid is obviously behaving in a way that is disrespectful to the dinner table, this tells me that what he's saying is correct. Because I promise you this now, depending on the household you are in, I will know, I can say this for sure. Especially in, I don't even want to say in an African household. I'm going to say that in a maybe strict household or maybe a household that has certain levels of discipline of how you show respect to others. I will say this. If you are eating at the dinner table, if you finish your meal, okay, and you start standing up, trust me when I tell you, you are going to get told off because it is shown as a disrespect. It is shown as something that just isn't nice, okay? So really and truly, Kobe wasn't wrong to say what you're doing is wrong. Emily was definitely wrong to then shut him down. But then for her to sit there and say that, oh, I don't let them run around when we are at restaurants, let's be real. When it comes to accountability, we've definitely noticed that Emily's accountability levels aren't exactly the best. So to be honest with you folks, I believe that he's telling the truth. Let me know what you think. Do you think that she lets the kids run around in restaurants, or do you think nah?
Because we can have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to go back to that one because obviously has Emily speaking and Kobe speaking, the oldest then says something. And Emily agrees disrespectfully.
Never.
Because we can have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't I pick up? I knew what he said before, but now I can't pick up what he said. Either way, though, the fact that the kid is now basically talking back to daddy and Emily is agreeing, that's not good parenting. Okay, you are now showing your son that he's allowed to have a voice where you are then going to tag team with him against your own husband, the father. Damn, nasty work.
Well, probably different. Cameroon's different than America. I mean, there's different styles of parenting.
Growing up,
I don't know why Emily's dad even spoke, to be honest with you. This has nothing to do with you. Unless you're going to be given some really good advice, this has nothing to do with you. Now, go back to what I said before. Before, when it came to the very first season, people felt as if the family was given that get out kind of vibe. This is why. Because in this situation, if the dad is going to say anything to Kobe, really and truly, the only thing you should be saying to Kobe is that maybe you and Emily need to have a conversation about how you can obviously deal with things. That's it. Not tell him that, oh, but there's difference within American Cameroon. That's not relevant. Because if you're going to have a child with somebody from a different country, different culture, a different ethnicity or whatever, and then you're going to have this clash about, well, this is how we do it, blah, 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 then what's the point of doing it? What you're supposed to do is have a conversation about, listen, just so you know, we need to find a compromise. Okay, this is how I would like to do this thing. Let me know how you want to do. Let me know how you'd want to do it, and then you can find that compromise, right? Not be like, well, this is America, and obviously you're from Cameroon, so it is what it is. What is that? That's not helping at all. That is putting Kobe in the same position that he was when he first came to America, and that is being ambushed by the family, being cornered by the family. The family always taking Emily's side, even when she's not even in the right. But to be honest with you, this isn't even a matter of who's right and who's wrong. It's a matter of where is the communication as parents here?
You gotta listen to your dad because your dad protect not just the kids but his wife as well. So I also understand. I'll really appreciate it if you don't undermine me in front of the kid. I feel like they just don't listen because you're always gonna jump in the way.
It's quite sad that after having 3 kids and now moving on to their 4th kid, now Kobe has to tell Emily this. To be honest with you, I don't know why this conversation wasn't had like after the first child, to be honest with you. This is something they should have learned. So does this mean that maybe Kobe has allowed Emily to get her own way all this time with their kids? Because to be fair, that is something else that we definitely saw within this couple. We saw the fact that within the first season, even in the second season they were together, that, you know, a lot of the time Kobe just didn't speak up. A lot of the time he allowed Emily to get away with her attitude, to get away with what she wants. And that was never really a good thing. Okay, and it seems to me as if that is still happening. I mean, listen, I said it before and I say it again. I've always said that this man struggles to have a backbone when it comes to his wife, and it seems to me as if that same issue is still going on. To be honest with you, I'm starting to think that Kobe went from having this traditional African way of being a father and being a husband to now having this way of happy wife, happy life. And I promise you now, if you're living by the philosophy of happy wife, happy life, I promise you now your husband is depressed without a shadow of a doubt, because that shouldn't exist in any shape or form, okay? Both people need to be respectfully happy. Do you see what I'm saying? There is no happy individual. You're a couple for a reason. You're a team for a reason. If one of you is happy and the other one is not, that means you're not even a team. You're just roommates, babysitters, I don't know, you name it. But either way though, it seems to me that is what he has become. And maybe that's why on social media, they always look like they're happy, because I guess he's just playing the part. But nah. All I'm saying is speaking up after having 3 kids is nasty work. But I hope this was just for the camera. And they already had this sorted out a long time ago.
Okay, I am sorry. Sometimes I jump in, but I will be more mindful of that in the future.
What does that mean? I'll be more mindful. I'm sorry that I pretty much embarrassed you. I'm sorry that I pretty much disrespected you. I'm sorry that I pretty much have shown the kids that no matter what daddy says, mommy's always going to be the one that's going to... What? And you're saying that, no. The response should be, babe, you're right. I'm never going to undermine you in front of the kids ever again. If I have an issue with something, I will wait until we are alone and we'll have a conversation about it. For her to say that, oh, I'm going to try. What? No, that's not good enough. Do it. Because listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're living in a world where there are so many kids in this world right now that are lost. So many kids right now who are living a life of trauma, living a life of just lack of stability, living a life of no discipline because mommy and daddy is not stepping up the way mommy and daddy is supposed to step up. Listen, at the end of the day, for me personally, I hope that this whole thing here was just something they did just for the camera, to be honest, if you really truly. But it saddens me that I believe that this wasn't the case, purely because Emily has always been this way and Kobe has always been pretty much willing to bend over backwards for her. And get what in return, who knows. But hey, let me know your thoughts down below. Now, I know on Pillow Talk, they look good. On social media, they look good. But let's be real. Anybody that goes on social media controls the narrative of what they want us to see. Anybody that goes on Pillow Talk, from what I understand, you get more of a free reign to be who you are. You control the narrative of what you want us to see. So sometimes what we see being good doesn't mean it's good. But of course, at the same time, they also control the narrative of 90 Day Diaries, because when it comes to 90 Day Diaries, they film themselves. Either way, I will say this. I hope things aren't the way they are with these two, but I hope other people can take in what I've said and hopefully learn something from it. With that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.